The Elon and Zuck fight may have just got even crazier, because now it's being reported that a member of the Italian government has offered for it to happen in the bloody Colosseum. I mean, just think about this. Not only is the Colosseum one of the 7 wonders of the world and the most famous battle theater in history, but this would be one of the first actual fights held inside the nearly 2,000-year-old venue in hundreds of years. And guess what? Both Elon and Zuck said that they would love for the fight to be held at this historic venue. The only drawback is that only a few hundred people would actually be able to attend the event. So the question is, do you think this is a good location for the fight or not?
Speedrunning shorts.
If you are planning on visiting South Korea, you need to be very careful.
They have a huge hidden camera problem in Airbnbs and hotel rooms, and apparently the photos and videos could be sold online.
This is actually sick. In the early 1990s, a mysterious vending machine suddenly appeared on the side of the road in Seattle.
The machine was decades old and had buttons that said mystery, which gave out drinks that didn't exist anymore. It disappeared in 2018 and left a note that said went for a walk.
Have you ever wondered why so many fast food signs are red?
People usually think red triggers hunger, but it actually makes us stop, look, and pay attention.
Have you ever wondered if cruise ships actually have enough lifeboats for all passengers?
They only require lifeboats for 75% of passengers at maximum capacity, but most cruise lines add enough for everyone.
Have you ever wondered, why is it so hard to swat a fly?
We appear to be in slow motion to them, and they have tiny hairs all over their bodies that feel the air move as you approach.
I recently went on DoorDash's Gordon Ramsay to see if we'd get some special treatment or if anyone would even care.
No one cared, but he made his name Dwayne Johnson instead because he spends a lot of time in the area and got extra food, but it could have been a mistake.
This country is spending millions of dollars to make itself look more poor.
It's Oman, and they noticed nearby countries are building cities for tourism, so they wanted to maintain their traditional style to keep their identity.
Did you know that there are thousands of caskets under the sea? Yes, it is legal. The burial should be for nautical miles away from shore. And there should be holes in the casket to help it sink.
Weird random facts you didn't know. Part 34. In Denmark, being unmarried on your 25th birthday gives people social license to pelt you with cinnamon. The sale of chewing gum in Singapore has been illegal since 1992. Also in Singapore, everyone above 21 is automatically registered as an organ donor. People who opt out of the program are given lower priority for organ transplants should they ever need one. In Russia, beer was not considered an alcoholic beverage until 2013. Until 2015, it was illegal for the British monarch to be Catholic or married to someone Catholic. The British Navy played Britney Spears songs to scare off Somali pirates. Playing J-Lo might have violated the Geneva Convention. While in school, Shakira's music teacher rejected her from the school choir because he thought she had a bad voice. And her classmates thought she sounded like a goat.
Oh baby, when you talk,
Do these images make you uncomfortable? If they do, this is a concept called uncanny valley, where people have a strange, uneasy feeling when they look at robots that are too lifelike, or anything that looks or acts human, but there's something off about them. This concept was introduced in the 70s by a professor at the Tokyo Institute of Technology named Masahiro Mori. He coined the term uncanny valley to describe his observation that as robots appear more human-like, they become more appealing, but only to a certain point. Let me know in the comments if you experience this.
Really weird human body facts that I can guarantee you didn't know. You can get a tan by eating a lot of sweet potatoes due to their high carotene content. Next time you have a stuffy nose, you could just have sex and it's gonna unblock it for you. You can prevent so much acne by just washing your face with hot water and then rinsing it with cold.
This is another example of something that can seem to break reality and give you a headache at the same time. CCTV cameras in this building caught this man going up the stairs, yet still what happens next is a pure glitch in the matrix. He accidentally walked below the tiles on the floor. This is impossible, but we saw it happen for ourselves and was caught on camera. The man in the video also realized for himself what just happened. He walks backwards and tries it again. Did he just break all the rules of science right before our eyes?
History facts your teacher doesn't tell you about. Part 5. In ancient Rome, there was a practice called snail licking, where people would gather snails from gardens and allow them to crawl on their face for skincare purposes. During the Middle Ages, it was believed that gingerbread men possessed magical powers and could bring good luck to those who ate them. In the early 20th century, there was a craze for wearing live canaries as accessories, with small cages designed to be attached to women's clothing. In the 18th century, some European nobility would hire professional mourners to attend their funerals and weep loudly to enhance the sense of grief and importance. In ancient Greece, there was a belief that wearing a wreath made of laurel leaves could enhance one's intelligence and creativity.
Did you know snails can sleep up to 3 years? 6 interesting facts you probably didn't know. Elephants' bones don't allow them to jump. Were you aware that 2 pilots flying a plane will never eat same meals? Did you know that honey doesn't spoil? All the continents' names start with the same letter that they end with. Had you heard that majority of the dust in your house is dead skin? Did you know that there is a protein in our body that is named after Sonic the Hedgehog? After following, let me know.
Crazy history facts you won't learn anywhere else. Part 10. Between 1913 to 1915, people could mail babies via the U.S. Postal Service. Ancient Thebes once assembled an elite military force consisting of 150 pairs of gay male lovers. They went undefeated in war for years. Pineapples in the 18th century used to be rented as a symbol of wealth and power. People would rent them just for a single night to show off to fellow partygoers. The last official Civil War widow, Helen Viola, died in 2020. Ancient Rome was 8 times more densely populated than modern New York. The Austrian army once mistakenly attacked and fought against themselves during the Battle of Caransebes. The confusion led to hundreds of casualties. Diarrhea was so widespread and common in the 19th century that people would develop opium habits because opium makes you constipated. I shit you not.
Weird facts you don't know. There is a diamond mine in Arkansas that is open to the public. Visitors can keep whatever gems they find. Over 31,000 diamonds have been found since it opened in 1972. In 1977, we received a radio signal from space that lasted 72 seconds. And to this day, we still don't know where it came from. A honey badger's skin is so thick that it can withstand machete blows, arrows, and spears. In 2013, a dad in China hired gamers to kill his son in video games, so the son would start looking for a job and get a life. In New Zealand's southernmost tip of the South Island called Slope Point, the trees permanently stand with their branches swayed sideways. This is due to the constantly blowing strong winds in the region that prevent the trees from standing upright.
There's a real woman who actually literally gave birth to 17 rabbits, and before you call bullshit, this is very Googleable. You can find the source in like 2 seconds. So how the fuck did this happen? 1726, a woman named Mary Toft gave birth to these rabbits, and she did so in front of very well-educated witnesses. She was in front of the finest doctors in her region. There were scientists who examined this, even the king looked into it. When this happened, people immediately had a fuck ton of questions, the primary of which was, did this bitch fuck a rabbit? Like, can we even do that? Like that it resulted in like children? Like, none of the rabbits lived. But still, all of these highly educated people who were experts in their fields were starting to genuinely wonder if human beings and rabbits have been able to crossbreed this entire time. And because they had seen the labor and performed the birth, it was literally earth-shattering to them, and they were very confused. There was only one guy, actually, who saw this happen, saw her push the rabbits out, and said, I'm calling bullshit. He's the only reason that we know that this lady was actually full of shit. So she did give birth to rabbits. That part is true. But she was not pregnant with rabbits. Here's what actually happened. She was pregnant with a human baby at the time, and she was experiencing what retrospectively people have tried to diagnose as like various forms of psychosis or mental illness, but no one's 100% sure what was going on with her because obviously like it's not like we can study her. During this pregnancy, her husband noticed that she had exhibited this like fixation on rabbits. There was this rabbit she saw in their backyard and she was like trying to convince him to catch it. She was craving rabbit soup. Y'all know the pregnancy cravings go crazy. He was unable to catch the rabbit and she was literally devastated. And from there, she started spiraling about the rabbit. She started talking about the baby and their pre-existing kids and how she was so devastated that they were having even more kids because in the future, when they do have rabbit soup, she'll have to share the rabbit soup and that'll be less rabbit soup for her. Her husband was basically just like, okay. They were not very wealthy. It's not like she could have an endless supply of rabbits brought to her at this time. She wasn't getting the rabbit craving fulfilled. It's unclear when, but at some point during this pregnancy in the last trimester, she managed to capture the rabbit and she found the rabbit's hole and found that it had a bunch of infant rabbits in there. For some reason, this prompted her to take the baby rabbits and shove them I had to like explicitly make sure that they were not alive because I would imagine there would be a lot of clawing. She chopped them up and she put them up there, and then she went into a false labor, called in all these doctors, and pushed the baby rabbits out. So how did they find out that it was fake? Part 2 is already up.
Here are some wild facts that I bet you didn't learn in history class. The first known photograph of a person was taken in 1838. It only happened because a man and his shoe shiner were the only people still enough on a busy street to show up in the 10-minute exposure. In 1937, 2 women wore shorts out in public for the first time. They drew a massive amount of male attention and even caused a car accident. The Great Pyramid of Giza was the tallest building in the world for nearly 4,000 years until the Lincoln Cathedral was built in 1311. When trains were first introduced in the US, women were afraid to ride in them. This is because many people believed that women's bodies were not designed to go 50 miles an hour, and that their uteruses would fly out of their bodies if they were accelerated to that speed.
Crazy facts that you didn't know about women. Women are biologically sensitive to high-pitched noises so that they can hear their offspring even when they're asleep. Women see 20% more color than men because of genetic mutation. The female brain is 9% smaller than the male brain but has an equal number of brain cells. Women are more rational than men because of a thicker cerebral cortex.
This is what Raynaud's syndrome or phenomenon looks like. This is time lapse from 2.5 minutes. It's a blood flow problem caused by spasms in the blood vessels, and those can be triggered by cold or emotions or stress. For me, it's cold. I asked my doctor what I can do about it, and he said, move to Florida. So in lieu of the plane ticket, I've got my hands in the warm water here, and you can see the blood eventually get into my fingertips.
Weird random facts you didn't know. Part 3. A single cloud can weigh over 1 million pounds. A group of skunks is called a stink. The average person walks the equivalent of 3 times around the world in a lifetime. A single day on Venus is longer than a year on Venus. In ancient Rome, it was considered a sign of leadership to be born with a crooked nose. The sneeze travels out of your mouth at over 100 miles per hour. Roller coasters were invented to distract Americans from sin. There's no known limit for how much the human brain can retain, but some estimates put it at 2.5 petabytes of data. That's like watching TV for about 350 years straight and retaining everything. But, somehow, remembering your partner's birthday seems very difficult to do.
Squirrels get run over a lot because they're alcoholics. They snack on fermenting fruit, get hammered, and don't have the proper response time to get out of the street in time. They used to make whips out of vertebrae by feeding horsehair through them and layering the vertebrae facing opposite directions to make a serrated edge. Isoamyl acetate. It's the chemical that gives bananas their smell. It's also the chemical bees secrete to indicate aggression. So if there were enough pissed off bees in one area, and you happened to be close to them, you'd smell like bananas just before you died. A sharp enough sword can decapitate with no pain. Sort of like how razors sometimes cut you and you don't notice until it's bleeding and then it starts hurting, but in this case you would be dead before your brain catches up. On the topic of decapitation, it's common for people to have time to make weird expressions between the time they lose their head and the part where they actually die. If an aircraft is too big that you can't cover it with your thumb, with your arm stretched out, then it's close enough you can shoot it down with rifle fire. You can't explode C4 by shooting it or by lighting it on fire, but you can by lighting it on fire and then shooting it. Actually, if it's on fire, you could hit it with a hammer and explode it, though only once for obvious reasons.
The weirdest facts about space you didn't know. This is 55 Canry E, and it's a planet completely made out of diamonds. And NASA estimates the planet is worth this much. That's 30 zeros. And space is not really silent according to astronauts. It's full of sounds, but humans just can't hear them. So they made a computer to translate those sounds into ones we could understand. And strangely enough, this is what Jupiter sounds like. And finally, astronauts grow around 3 to 4 inches tall in space. So if you're under 6 feet, there's your chance.
Worst year to be alive. Welcome to 536 AD. Here are 5 chilling reasons why this year was a nightmare like no other. The sun went dark. A massive volcanic eruption in Iceland cast a fog over Europe, the Middle East, and parts of Asia, plunging these regions into 18 months of darkness. Crops failed. The sun's obscurity led to a severe temperature drop, causing a years-long winter and widespread crop failures. The plague. In 541, the bubonic plague struck, killing up to 50 million people, nearly 26% of the world's population at the time. Economic distress. The fog, crop failures, and plague led to economic stagnation, disrupting trade routes and slowing economic recovery. Political instability. The catastrophic events of 536 led to societal collapse and political instability in many regions, marking the beginning of the end of the Roman Empire. Follow us for more history horror stories.
Did you know there's a tree strap to help you poop in nature hands-free called the crap strap? Hello, and here's some weird facts. A man in China realized that the object he'd been using for 25 years to crack walnuts was actually a live hand grenade. Milk taken from cows at night makes you sleepier than milk taken during the day. Hats were a common wedding gift amongst Vikings due to their association with the goddess of luck. There's a sport called extreme ironing where people go to random places and iron their clothes. The Romans substituted criminals into plays as punishment, so if a character died in the story of the play, then a real criminal would die on stage. The green falling code in the Matrix is just loads of sushi recipes. Research has found that dogs really like the silly high-pitched voice their owners use to talk to them.